This is Jessica.
And this is Kelly. And this is the Chasing Brighter
podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. We have our friend, Mary Ricciardi. She is a lifestyle expert, board certified holistic health coach, certified gut health specialist, certified nutrition specialist, and certified mindset coach. She is the founder of Warrior Strong Wellness and creator of Warrior Strong Lifestyle 365. We're so excited to have you on today, Mary. And what we want to talk about is, everyone kind of talks about the new year as this way. They have all these goals, they have these expectations. And what I know we've talked about is you worry that people kind of do these goals that are not maintainable and sustainable. And what we want to talk about is, how can you change, like you talk about, Mary, so much, is that forever lifestyle, right? Making small changes that are maintainable and sustainable for life. So welcome.
Hello. So glad to be back with you guys. It's always so much fun to talk to you. Absolutely. I have this little slogan I like to say, it's a forever kind of thing. And that's the way I believe lifestyle should be, taught. And that's why, I created a course to do so, because I feel like so often the problem is consistency, right? Like we start something oftentimes right after the new year, after holidays, after we've been eating too many processed foods and sugars and stuff. And we're like, I'm going to get in shape again. And then it lasts till about mid-February. And we're back into that cycle.
Or like you talk about a diet mindset, right? Or, people are like, diet starts Monday. All of a sudden completely be a whole new person Monday.
Right. Exactly. So I would very much like people to ditch that whole diet culture, the diet mentality, that quick fix mentality, that, I got to jump on the scale every day mentality. Instead, what I do is I like to bring people through what I call the 4 Ds. Mm-hmm. So number 1 D is deciding. Yeah. Correct. So we just want to decide that we've made up our mind. We have decided. We've decided to change. We want to make change. We feel there's something that needs to change. Either we feel maybe really sluggish, we're just not feeling ourselves. Maybe we're getting sick too often. It's an immune system thing, and so we've decided, I'm ready. That's the biggest D, I think, because if we don't decide, someone can say, well, you need to do this. But if you don't decide that, how are you going to truly change, right? Because you have to make that decision. And what I've found is that, we get so caught up in we got to do it all. We got to do it all. And instead, just start where you are and just do what you can, right? Yeah. So, for instance, water. Just start drinking more water. That's a huge one. I drink tons of water. I'm drinking water right now. I have to drink water all day long. And yes, it's better than drinking 20 Cokes. So just one thing, a little tiny small thing, like the power of one. Yeah. Right? I like that. And so once you've made up your mind, I like to, when I work with my clients and in my course, I just help them to see what's their why. And everybody's like, I don't know how to figure out a why. That's the hardest thing for some people. But seriously, what instead of calling it a why, what I like to say when I'm in that decide phase with my customer or my client, I just tell them, let's make a personal promise. It's just like when you get married. You've made a personal promise to your husband. It's a commitment, or, any relationship for that matter. You've made a commitment. So let's turn that around and making a commitment to yourself. What are you deciding to do? And who do you need to become? Who do you want to become? You got to really be honest with yourself with this, right?
I think that's so true. When you talk about your why, and if your why is, I want to look good in a bikini, that might not be strong enough. You know what I mean? To get you through, is that who you want to be? Is that deep and really thinking it? Because then that's not going to, I guess, kind of give you that drive to reach those health goals?
I feel like it has to be more emotional than that.
Yeah.
That's more of a surface physical thing. So like I mentioned, immune health. I find, when I'm working with my clients, I want them to give me something personal and they can't give it to me. I'll say, well, give me who's the most important person in your life. And if somebody says to me, well, of course, my kids or my grandkids. And I say, well, okay, how come you don't want to be healthier so you can get down on the floor and play with your grandkids or your kids? How come you don't want to be able to get out and go for a run with them or walk at the park? Then they start to feel it. And if you're in an unhealthy state, and let's say, you're very unhealthy and you're in a position where you're having health problems, you're having heart problems, you're having diabetes. These are things that that will really push someone to decide. Okay. But if you're not there yet, then I think it's a really good exercise to do is just taking a piece of paper and putting a line down the middle and putting what am I willing to do and what am I unwilling to do?
Yeah.
Because that helps you decide. Because if you're like, for instance, just like a really quick example, if I'm willing to go to the gym in the morning, maybe I'm not. I want to work out at home. That's something I'm unwilling to do is go to the gym. Does it make sense? Like you are doing the honest truth of what you want to decide to do, what your health lifestyle should be. And maybe you're willing to go for a walk at lunchtime on your lunch break, but you're not willing to get up at 5 a.m. to go work out, or you're not willing to give up those Doritos because those are your most favorite snack. That's okay. So I think if we're really honest with ourselves, just writing down whatever they're willing and unwilling to do, that kind of starts the process of deciding, and it doesn't mean that you have to give up all your favorite snacks. It just might mean that you're just going to add in some more healthier options and start adding in some more movement and some more water. And that helps you to create this decision that you're making for you to move on to the next step.
Well, I love when you say the power of one, because I think that's so true. I think people are like, okay, on Monday, I'm going to go to the gym every day for an hour. I'm going to have salad all day, and let's say you go from eating out every day and being sedentary. And then you have these lofty goals. And it's like, you're saying, okay, let's start with, let's take away one soda and replace that with water. Let's do that. Okay. Right. Let's look at, you're not going to the gym at all. So let's look at 2 days, and instead of this huge, I think then people get overwhelmed because it seems like they have to make so many changes at one time.
Correct. Well, I mean, personally, I don't ever recommend anybody go to the gym right away if they're a person that's never done that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's super overwhelming. So I always find it's best just to start with water and taking a walk.
Yeah.
You could walk around your house. You could walk outside. It could be for 5-10 minutes and just do that consistently for a week. And then the next week, add more time to that. Just little things make a big, huge difference. And
absolutely.
The more important thing is that we're doing it forever. So if that's not, so for me personally, I'm not a fan of a cycle class or bicycle. All my clients that I've had in the past, they always used to teach that, oh, Mary wouldn't do that. That's what I'm unwilling to do. I don't care for that type of exercise. Yeah. So I know for a fact, I'm not going to be able to just sustainably do that on a daily basis. So that's not something I'm willing to do. If that doesn't make me unhealthy, it just makes me deciding that I'd rather walk, do Pilates, or do strength training. Those are my favorite forms of exercise. Everybody has them. So that's what I'm trying to say is when you make that decision, don't make it for someone else. Make it for yourself.
Follow your joy, something that sounds good to you, not what you're you're supposed to do.
Because if you do that, then it's going to be simple and it's going to be sustainable, because the most important thing is the longevity of your lifestyle change. Because if it's not going to be a lifestyle if you just change it for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Anybody could do that, but we cannot continually keep consistent. That's the problem. So that's what I teach. And so number 2D is dedicate. Okay, so in the dedicate phase, what you're going to do is you're going to learn how to devote time to yourself. That's the biggest issue. I think when consistency and time, those are the biggest excuses I always hear from people. Well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Okay, raise our hand. who has time to go on Facebook for an hour or Instagram or whatever you listen to watch,
Right.
TikTok,
Scrolling.
okay.
Yeah.
TV. We all have time. We all have time. We just don't devote time. We don't devote time to things that matter to ourselves. We devote time to our children.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, if they ask us to read a book, we're not going to say, no, I'm not reading you a book. Of course not. If my grandson asked me to read him a book, he's only 7 months, but I'm just saying, I read him a book every single time I babysit him because I want to devote time to him. So why wouldn't I do that for myself? Reading, learning about nutrition, learning about health, or how about just taking a walk and putting in an audio and listening at the same time? That's devotion to myself. That's devoting time and effort. So that's what we want to do, is we want to start dedicating our life, and in this section, I would also like to remind ourselves, I should say, that dedication to yourself means, how are you talking to yourself?
Yeah.
And that's a huge key for
self-talk
mindset. Okay. So I think, therefore I am, right? I think, therefore I am. Or if you think it's impossible, then it is for you. Okay. So your mind is so powerful that if you're squashing yourself every day, if you're self-sabotaging yourself, if you're letting that self-doubt come in, it's going to make you feel like you can't. And so we got to somehow squash that self-sabotage instead of letting it squash us. Yeah. And I think that, some of the words that come in our brain are what stops us the most. And that stops us from consistency. Like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to look like her. Yep, probably you won't, because you're going to look like you. Yeah. And I think that in that dedicate phase, we have to start to just give ourselves that self-love and appreciation and self-compassion, because just like I said, start where you are and do what you can. I'm not saying
not that comparison
where Jessica is and start where, you know what I mean? So that's what I think, letting go of that. Oh, I have to look like her. No. I'm never going to look like you, and you're never going to look like me, and Kelly's never going to look like me. And you know what I mean? We all have different bodies. We all have different ages. We all have different body types. And you've got to learn to love who you are so you can dedicate yourself to this lifestyle change. And I think that's a huge key.
And I think so many times, at Chasing Brighter, we've been talking so much that for women, oftentimes we become people pleasers. It's easier for us to do for others and not for ourselves. I think about on the airplane when they say, put your oxygen mask on first before you put your oxygen mask on your children. And I think about that, and it's like, we are living, breathing examples for our children on what, to me, like what a wife and mother does. And I don't want them to say, oh, a woman, wife and mother never sleeps, does for everybody else, never does anything for themselves, and has absolutely no life. Right? Exactly. Like, you're modeling what that looks like. And it's like, I want them to see, like, no, I have things for myself, and no, I'm doing things for myself. And also, if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody. It's like, you have to fuel yourself to have any emotional energy left for anybody else.
I cannot agree more. That is perfectly said. Absolutely. And, sometimes when I've worked with people and I've asked them to give themselves an hour a day, and it doesn't even have to be a full hour. It could be like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here. They freak out. Yeah. And that saddens me, because we should be dedicating our time, devoting it to ourselves, because our health is the most important thing. Because how can you be good to everyone else? Your mental health, your physical health, all of it together, it's going to help you. And I mean, I'm one of those people that are like, yes, let's do two things at once. Like I said, walk, listen to a book about something that's going to calm your mind. Yeah. Or, do some meditation, do some relaxation, go get a massage. Self-care is not selfish. And I know that keys, people start to realize that a lot more nowadays, but I feel like there's so often we just don't do it. Yeah. We don't devote that time to ourselves, and it makes a huge difference, and it makes you a better mom, a better everyone, better worker, everything, because you're fulfilled, and it's such a old saying, but fill that cup. If you don't,
I know.
if you don't, you're going to be sorry and you'll start to feel terrible and you won't be sleeping well. And I mean, sleeping is the biggest, hugest thing of lifestyle. You know that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the important part. And it's once you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm really starting to love myself. I'm starting to feel like it is possible for me, and really feeling that. Then I think the third one is probably the most important, and that's develop. The third D. So where am I going? How am I doing? Evaluating that on a daily basis and, starting to really hone in on what it is that's creating this healthy person. Am I drinking enough water a day? Am I sleeping enough? Huge, huge factors. They're very simple. But unfortunately, people don't stay consistent. Am I nourishing my body with foods that give me life? I can tell a difference if I ate 5 cookies, and there's nothing wrong with eating 5 cookies because I am an intuitive eater and I try to just, if I want a cookie, I'm going to eat it. But if I eat 5 cookies compared to eating, more of a healthier meal, like some chicken, some rice, some broccoli, or something that's giving me all my macronutrients, it's a huge difference.
Yeah. Notice how you feel after.
The energy level, but I might get some fast energy from cookie, but it's not going to sustain me to have brain power, to have workout power, all the things that I need for my body to work. And so, that's the part I guess, the time that you want to really focus in is because once you get to that decide, dedicate, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then we're at develop. And that developing stage is you're like, okay, wait, I've been doing this for 8 weeks. I don't see any difference. Why am I doing this? Because it's not, you got to keep going, and that's the whole forever mindset change and that forever kind of thing change. You got to continue that lifestyle. And you may not see a ton of changes.
Well, there's a lot of ways to measure that, right? So what do you recommend if someone is saying, okay, I'm just totally, tamed by society and I can only think of health goals being measured by the scale. Mm-hmm. And I lost 2 pounds, Mary. and so what would you say? Okay, let's look at these things. These are what we want to be measuring. And what would you say?
Okay. So personally, I don't weigh ever because maybe once or twice a year. I feel like the scale is very deceiving. So
Amen. Thank you.
Personally, I'm more concerned about how many push-ups can I do? Yeah. How strong am I?
Yeah.
How are my jeans fitting? And if they're not fitting, get rid of them and get a pair that does. Because in my opinion, beating ourselves up over clothes that don't fit anymore.
I love you, Mary.
Ridiculous.
Thank you.
I'm serious. Why are we doing that? Why are we having, just if you have a pair of jeans that's 6 sizes smaller than you are right now, please give them away to someone that will wear them and you don't have to look at them anymore. It's ridiculous.
It's like punishing yourself,
it's
right?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Instead, focus on what I just talked about, drinking more water, eating the foods that nourish your body. You don't have to do a full-on food prep, but you need to start realizing this food makes me feel good. This food doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
If it's gluten filled, maybe your body's getting bloated. Recognize that and take that away maybe and see if something's not working for you. So food is a highly important reason that people stop because they think that they can't go out to eat dinner. They can't go do normal things. So for me, I think a way of seeing how well you're doing is seeing how well you can coexist in regular society and eat out dinners and be able to choose options that you can do so you can live that consistent lifestyle. I eat out all the time, but do I choose fatty, fried, processed foods? No, but I don't want to eat out at a place where I probably wouldn't eat out at a fast food restaurant. That's not my thing. But if you do have to eat out at a fast food restaurant, you have choices. So if, for instance, if you want to go to In-N-Out Burger, you would wrap it up and, do a protein style burger or something. You know what I'm saying? If you're in an instance where you have no choice, but it's okay, not beating ourselves up. And just learning that process.
Yeah. And talking about that, it's I've been so I'm on I went 365 days without dieting. So I'm gonna let everybody know it's been 14 years of me consistently dieting up for the past 14 years, where I lose 5, gain 8, lose 8, gain 10, right? This is what I've been doing. And so my brain has so messed up about this is good and this is bad and this is bad and this is good. You know what I mean? And so I've just been working so hard on deprogramming that then I'm overwhelmed. We travel a ton for sports. And I talked to this nurse practitioner who I love so much. And I was like, I'm just having a problem traveling and trying to figure out, like, we're on the go. We might be in the middle of nowhere and all our options are like fast food, right? It's like we're in some small town somewhere and I don't know what to do. And she goes, oh, and she had the book in the office of Eat This, Not That. Do you guys remember that? I think it's from Men's Health. And it's so simple. You know what I mean? Like, if she was giving me permission, Jessica, you can eat at that place.
Right.
Look, eat this, not that. And I think that's what happens, right? And I think I had a friend one time and she was like dieting and she was like, I'm not eating anything. I don't know what to eat. I'm so confused. I'm just not eating because I don't know what to do.
That's a mentality that first of all, Jessica, take a deep breath. Seriously, how much better do you feel after that year? I'm just letting
I know. It was, can I just tell you, I know that sounds stupid. It's so hard for me. I have been immersed in diet
and I would
culture.
Fluctuate and I would
I would be Monday. Okay. On Monday, I'm just not going to eat carbs. And then you're like, then I was like, wait a minute, don't do that. Okay. I'm going to look at Weight Watchers. So Monday, I'm going to I need to lose 5 pounds this week.
Right. And I mean, seriously, that is, so when I have my course is all about that goal of it. Cause people are like, wait, what's our goal? What's our goal? We have to lose weight, right? We have to do this. We have to change our body. I'm like, no. I know that's probably not very popular. And that's probably, people need to learn what you just learned. That year, guess what it gave you? Your goal was peace.
Yeah.
And that's my hugest.
Can I tell you, it is
peace and self-acceptance.
Absolutely. It is like, I am loving myself. I'm loving my body. That just beats you up. It just beats you up. And it's just like, and also there are so many, like, we're talking about measurable goals. Like, I went to my doctor. My blood work's amazing.
That's
what I mean? I walk.
I kind of got distracted when you asked me that, but that's the huge measurable goal. The biggest goal, though, I think for me, for people is, it's hard for me because I do not really believe in that. I think it's all about how you feel. I mean, it's great if you can fit in your jeans, okay? But if you can't, then get rid of the clothes and start from where you are and do what you can. And that is so true. That measurable goal is immunity, not getting sick all the time.
Yeah.
Spring training helps with that. So does, taking vitamins.
That's a great, right? Oh, I haven't gotten sick in 6 weeks, right? I've noticed I had 10 colds and someone saying I had 10 colds in 2022. I didn't sleep well. Now I'm sleeping well. There's so many other ways to measure.
The piece of knowing that you're not eating a good or a bad food. That you're eating to nourish your body. And if you're in a situation where you have nowhere else to eat but a fast food restaurant, you just do what you can with what you can. And it's okay if you eat that sometimes.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, just that whole, I got to have this, or I got to have this, or I got to have, you know what I mean? None of that matters. I mean, I love the intuitive eating book that is out. I don't know.
Which one?
It's just called Intuitive Eating. It's by those two psychologists. I have it somewhere, but I don't have it.
By Judith Beck?
I think so. I can look it up in a second if you want. But
we'll put that on the blog post for everybody. But that's that's what everyone's going.
I mean, Intuitive Eating it's kind of an old-fashioned book, and it's long because I read it and I did the Audible, but I also have the book and there's parts that I've highlighted. But Intuitive Eating, people think intuitive eating is like, I can just do whatever I want. That's not so much what it is. It's more like mindfulness, but also just being really, really conscious of our hunger cues and our full cues. So that's it in the gist. And that's pretty much what the whole book talks about. But seriously thinking about like that and just going like, I'm at all you can eat sushi. Okay. Or I'm at a buffet and you're thinking, I can eat as much as I want, right? But can you? I want you to eat until you're full, and then you're done. I don't care if you only thought you got like $12 worth of your $29.99. So that's what I mean, that's an intuitive eating mindset, is realizing I can stop eating now because I'm full. I feel full. I don't want to physically feel too full. And then really being honed in on our hunger cues. I have found that most of my clients I've worked with were not eating enough. And that's why they weren't losing or changing their lifestyle, because they were starving themselves. If you're starving and you're trying to do strength training and working out, it will not work. Your body won't gain muscle. And the more muscle that you have, the more fat you lose. So that's why I'm a huge component, especially I'm over 50, of over 50-year-old women. We do not do enough strength training. You know, if you're on that elliptical for 12 hours a day, you're not going to lose weight like you would if you were, say, you know, on that strength training cycle of gaining muscle, doing some form
and that's helping bone density, right?
Bone density and training also builds muscle, which women, as we age, just like everything else, goes away a lot. Okay. So we have to build that muscle so that that muscle will lose fat. It's just the way women are built. Like men are, you know, losing, if you go on, if you're in that diet culture and diet mentality and you go on a diet at the same time as your husband, he's probably going to lose like 25 pounds and you'll lose 1. And the reason being is that men naturally have a way higher muscle ratio than a woman. So that's why it's so important that we build muscle and that we, you know, do strength training exercises, the basics, you know, squats, lunges, if possible, or, you know, something that's moving our body in that way, or like a booty lift, or, you know, where if you can't do lunges, you can lay on the floor and do like a, what is that called in Pilates? You know what I'm talking about?
Like a bridge?
But, you know, where you lift your booty up and squeeze,
bridge.
you know, bridge.
I hate bridges.
And they call it different things in different areas, but bridge with some weights on you, or, you know, a plank, those are all building exercises of muscle, squats, push-ups, you know, basic stuff that build muscle, and or going to the gym and doing some exercises. But what I'm saying is those kind of things help to develop us into a healthier being, you know, and so, you know, I think that's really important.
So you're talking about develop. So it's also kind of about self-awareness, or like, because you talked about like almost like training. Is it partly like training yourself to listen to your cues of your body? And that's part of like this development.
Kind of coming to that point where you've learned, you've decided, you've dedicated, but how do we develop that further? Meaning, you know, where am I going? Where am I at? Kind of that self-acceptance phase, that self-realization, like, do I need to drink more water? Do I need to sleep more? Now we're really focusing and honing in on what we need to do to be a healthy person, right? Like eating to nourish, doing some daily walking, doing some strength training, Pilates, whatever that looks like for you. You know, because I don't believe like there's any size that is a healthy size. I just believe we're all the same, you know, we're all different, and there's no size healthy. It's just, you know, that's the size healthy, period. There's, you know what I mean? So yeah. Just learning about that. But I also feel like in that develop phase, we can kind of start to feel like, oh no, I'm not doing well, or I'm kind of getting bored of this, or I'm not feeling consistent anymore. I'm starting to fall off because you're getting out of that phase where you're, you know, excited, right? So I think that starts to happen. Here's some things that you could do that would give you some tips to kind of keep going. One is get an accountability partner. I think that is huge. And, you know, it doesn't even matter, like, if you've been in your lifestyle working hard on your lifestyle for many, many years. There was just a recently for me that I just was like, I'm not really feeling it. And it's normal. That happens. And I was going to Pilates, and I haven't been doing that because I just kind of didn't want to have that membership anymore. And so I still have my gym's membership. And it's so funny because I feel like my friend and I were both talking about it, and she goes, oh, I have a membership there too. And I was like, oh, let's meet. And it's been so fun because we meet 3 days a week and we do strength training together. And it's helping me because she shows up and I know I'll be there with her. And it brings me joy because she doesn't know how to do strength training. So I'm kind of like the trainer hat goes on, and I don't train people anymore, but I used to. So I have that education. And so I feel happy because I'm helping her learn how to do strength training. So it's feeding both of our souls at the same time as being an accountability partner. Or even like having your friend that you haven't talked to in years, or that you talk to occasionally, that lives in a different city, just jumping on a phone call together and walking, like another way, or is just, I do a lot of friendship stuff like that. Like, hey, let's meet for a walk. And I mean, Jessica and I did that one day, and it's just so nice because we're both getting exercise and we can have our time together as friends. And I'm doing that actually tomorrow with one of my dear friends I hadn't seen in a while. So instead of like sitting at coffee, which is nice too, and that's always fun, or going to lunch, but it's nice to get some exercise as well as talking with your friend. I feel like it's like a therapy session half the time.
Oh, totally.
Like,
sure.
Right. It's just a fun time. Those are just some tips that I found, just finding that accountability with you. If you start to lose that, or, and you can always reach out to somebody who is also active and go, I've been kind of lazy lately, which is fine too. Sometimes we go through those phases, but it's just to kind of help you bring yourself back to that consistency spot. And again, it's a forever thing. So there's going to be months where maybe you didn't work out for a whole month, and that's not a time to like beat yourself up. It's a time to just go, okay, we took a rest and now it's time to get back, going again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's again, that quick fix mentality needs to go away, because we're not doing anything for a reason. We're not working out to do this or do that. We're just healthfully taking care of our bodies, moving our bodies, getting some physical activity, drinking water, nourishing our body, because that's our lifestyle. That's the different mentality, right? We're doing it because this is what we do. It has nothing to do with losing weight. It has nothing to do with, trying to be this person or that size. It has to do with changing our perspective and how we feel, and that we're more healthier completely. And that brings me to the fourth D, which is deliver. Okay. Which we always want to just start with deliver, right? We all want that. Okay, give me that, loss of the weight or whatever. And I just love hearing, because you basically did what I want people to do, is break free, right? So the delivery for me in my teaching is that I want them to remember that peace is our goal. Yeah. And you feel better because you've let it go.
Yeah.
You've let it go. You've let go of all the expectations. You've let go of all the diets that you try to lose, and you try to eat this way and you try to eat that way. No, we aren't meant to live that way. We're meant to have peace within our soul and just continue and just be consistent. Don't stop. And if you do stop, then you just start again.
Yeah.
And try not to let it go much longer than a month or so, and if you have a situation and, there's going to be times and seasons in your life where it's going to be different. There might be something that happens, where somebody in your family gets ill and you don't have time to work out every day. That's going to happen sometimes. Or maybe you had a new baby. You need to give yourself grace in that season and do what you can with what you got. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is. We've got to give ourselves more grace and love, and just go, okay, you know what? Maybe you have an injury. I can't walk right now. Okay, then let's just do some arm exercises and do some breathing and do maybe some yoga. So just do what you can with what you got. And that could change a lot in the seasons. Yeah. And that's the delivery part, because we want to really remember that peace is our goal, and it's a forever kind of thing. This isn't something that we do occasionally. This is something we do always, just changing that mindset and thinking pattern to be a little bit more loving and in nature, towards ourselves.
And Mary, do you find, like, also with your clients, that once that a lot of that stress that they've put on themselves goes away, then sometimes they find it easier to kind of evolve their own lifestyle and, eventually kind of see themselves feeling so much better that they start to forgive themselves?
Absolutely. And, I've sometimes often have people do visualization exercises. When I don't do this much often, but I used to do coaching just like one-on-one. And sometimes I would have them visualize that. And it's funny, after like what Jessica just told me, after that year, once they visualize it, it usually comes true. And that's what I mean is, like not visualizing where you're putting yourself on a bikini on a board, but visualizing how your body and your soul and everything about lifestyle wants to feel, letting go of that chaoticness. And what happens when they do that is they receive such a different gift, because nobody wants to feel like they're less than or not good enough just because of their size or what they weigh. Okay, so when we let go of that, sometimes we will lose weight and we won't even be trying, because we've been in those consistent, simple, sustainable practices. And that's what I want people to get to, and mainly just to learn to just be, happy with who we are. And just being in that self-acceptance stage is so important, because we have to accept who we are. I mean, it's the hardest part, I think, because it's like saying like a Rottweiler is the same as a poodle. We can't, there's no possible way they're not going to be the same. So we have to just be like, okay, I am who I am. And it was really hard for me growing up, because I was, a taller, what people would say, bigger person, and I even was told that, well, you're a big girl, because I was a different size than my mom. And my mom didn't mean it in a bad way, but I feel like sometimes those things that were told to us, we believe. And so that would just make me want to eat more ice cream. And then that comes into that emotional eating piece. And so that's what's kind of cured me of that. And what you talked about too is like, just letting go of that diet mentality, because I would do the same thing. I would gain weight, I would lose weight. I would gain weight, I would lose weight. It was like this constant roller coaster chaos, diet mentality, just constantly, okay, oh no, I ate too much during the holidays. Okay, now I got to lose that weight. And then I'd lose the weight. Then I'd gain again. You know what I mean? It's just like, get me off this roller coaster.
Right. Well, because like you're talking about, it becomes fraught with minefields, right? Too. So it was like a feeling for you, like different is bad, right? Oh, like you're a big girl. What does that mean? Right. It wasn't said in a mean way, but it had you kind of, right. There was just like the creation of shame. And thank goodness there's a huge body positivity movement. And now we are recognizing, like you're saying, they're healthy, right, isn't something you can see. Right. I love the 4Ds and what you're talking about, right? Because what we're looking at is it's also a shift in mindset, right? It's like we want to make these small, sustainable, maintainable changes so that we can have a forever lifestyle. So it's that what you're doing, right? Your lifestyle fits with your life. Right. And so it's like constantly reflecting, right? This is working. This isn't working. Hey, I feel better. And I think what you're also talking about is tapping into our gut, right? Tapping into knowing what's best for you, like not what's best for everybody else. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And also being really super honest. I mean, I touched on that just very briefly in the decide phase, but being super honest with ourselves, and sometimes even hiring like a coach or doing a video program or some kind of a course, or talking with a therapist, because I mean, like one of my clients I had recently, she and I walked through some things, and there's a reason why she's in that pantry with a bag of chips and eating them all up, all of a sudden. And she realized, oh man, I was really emotionally eating right then, and I was trying to avoid this. I was procrastinating that. I was stressed about this. And that is something that is so helpful, I think, because when you're talking to someone else and they kind of help bring that out, either a therapist or a coach or a lifestyle coach or something, that kind of keeps that in that forefront of your mind, so that when it begins to happen, we all do it. We all emotionally eat a little bit here and there. And when that happens, it's easier to say, oh, I'm doing that right now, and kind of just stop, I have this rule, and it's just, I don't eat out of a bag. And if I'm eating out of a bag, there's a reason for it. Like, don't eat out of an ice cream canister, because obviously you're doing that an emotional fast.
Yes, I do that with my kids. I'm like, get a plate, get a bowl. You can always have more, but like put it, because there's something about what that does to your mind, right? Yeah.
And she laughed about that, and she goes, "Oh, that's going to be my new rule." And she's texted me quite a few times, and she said, "I've went to the bag, but I stop and I think, what am I doing? Because it's not healthy." So I think just being honest with yourself and realizing and taking that what is it called? The power of the pause, right? Just realizing, oh crap, what am I doing? I'm actually eating away my feelings instead of writing them, journaling them, or something like that. So just healthier ways of keeping that sustainable, simple lifestyle and not eating our emotions is important too. And I think that's a huge one that, I also talk about that a lot in my course. And because I am an emotional eater, and I try not to be like that anymore. And I work really hard at it. And I realize it's so much quicker because I have that mentality of knowing, but if I just want to eat a cookie, I'm going to eat a cookie. It doesn't mean I'm emotionally eating a cookie every time. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, just the differences, When you
talked about it, like how, so during all of this, there's all these different ways that you can gather support. And I know you talked about it a little bit, but like your course. And so I'm so excited. Mary is generously giving our listeners a discount on her Warrior Strong Lifestyle 365 course. So it's WSL 365. Normally this video course is $97, but for our listeners, we get a discount for it to be $29.99. And you can find this on Mary's website at warriorstrongwellness.com. So we're so excited. Thank you so much, Mary, for offering that. I think that is going to be a support when we are ready for that forever lifestyle to make those changes. What a great way to kickstart that with your course.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope it, just helps people and on their journey to being a forever lifestyler.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
This was really insightful.
I love this
course a try too.
Me too. We're totally going to do the course.
Let's do it. Yes.
All right.
You guys are awesome. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thanks for listening and joining us today.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at Chasing Brighter or on our blog, chasingbrighter.com.